welcome to For the Love of Nature, a podcast where we tell you everything you need to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura.
And I'm Katy, and this is the season 4 finale. And I just saw the last episode, which I had no idea. The last episode was our 50th episode. So this makes episode 51. Not too shabby.
Definitely. I mean, more than 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's what we were worried about. Is that,
a lot more than 7.
They said the statistic is that most podcasts fail by episode 7. So we've definitely cleared that milestone.
We're like old timers at this now.
I feel like it. Between this and the other podcasts that I produce and help with, I'm just like, I got this, by now. Without
if only we were wildly successful.
Listen, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
There's some exciting news that eventually I'm sure I will share, because this show will definitely be a part of it, the podcast, along with several others that I've been reaching out to. So eventually we'll share that news for sure. All right.
Tease you with it. But today, season finale.
Teaser and for season finale. So I think this episode is one. Well, first of all, we're talking about cryptozoology. Let's just put that out there. And I feel like this is one that we have talked about in roundabout ways several times.
I know for a fact that we did just an episode or 2 ago.
So
we talked about our camping adventure in the woods.
Yes. And I don't know. I'll share I focus on my 2 specifically on how they relate to me. So we'll get into those, but prior to that, we have some nature news that we need to share. Let me pull it up.
What's the news?
That scientists are looking at the archerfish, which they have for hundreds of years, and they are
That's one that goes, right?
Yeah, and can shoot down the prey. And so they've never been able to. They've had an idea, a couple different ideas on how it does this, but a new study they think has finally concluded indefinitely how it does this. So, I did not know, one, that this fish was dubbed the anti-aircraft gunners of the aquatic world. Which is...
I feel like, though, that implies that their prey is bombing them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Which is not. If anything, it's the total opposite. It's just like an innocent insect flying above the water.
Business.
And just shoots out of the air. But the other really cool thing that I didn't know is, let me see here, is that they said whenever, way back when, there were visiting Englishmen and...
To where archerfish? Are the Amazon?
India.
India, okay.
And these Englishmen would be standing by the river, and they'd be smoking a cigarette, and they would shoot out the cigarette, the end of it. That's how accurate it is. They would just be
I guess maybe they thought it was a firefly.
They thought it was an insect. Yeah, a glowing insect.
So funny.
Yeah,
so just what the? You'd be so confused. And you'd get people would go from 0 to 100 so quick.
Just keep lighting that cigarette. Yeah, I can.
Especially back then.
Yeah.
They were using matches. They only had 2 cigarettes.
Yeah. And so many matches. Are you freaking kidding me?
Pile beside them, and they're going. They've rolled this cigarette. They've put work into this cigarette, and this stupid fish, which at first they wouldn't even know what was going on.
I have no idea,
because you'd be looking down, guarding it, trying to light it with your match, and then just
second it hits, gone,
dead. That's so good.
That is funny.
Trolling fish.
Trolling fish. Well, they had an idea. I guess part of their mouth, there was this little tube that was made up of connective tissues and some bones.
They have a special spitting lip.
Well, it's kind of looks like a blowpipe structure.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
That they form their mouths using a combination of bones and soft tissues. They noted that because this was debated for almost 100 years as to whether the archer's precise water jet is caused by the blowpipe structure, which of course you would think if you saw that, you'd be like, that has to be it. Yeah. But there was debate over that, or whether it was caused by a pressure tank, quote unquote, structure in the mouths of fish. And so because it had these 2 different possibilities, they were I don't know which one it is. And to add to the confusion, There is another group of fish, which is a quote-unquote sister group of the archerfish that lives in the Pacific Ocean, called a beach salmon. And they have that same exact blowpipe in their mouth. However, they don't use it to spit out water. They use it, the same exact thing pretty much, for chewing up the well-armored organisms they feed on, such as shrimp and other crustaceans.
Weird.
Yeah, so it's like they use it for a completely different purpose.
So in that case, then, okay, well, at least this is how it worked out in my head. So they had the structure, and then the archerfish are that structure predates their spitting, obviously.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, one of them just one day
figures it out
and just spits. Happens to hit a bug flying by, and it was like, oh, hell yes.
Guys, come over here.
All of his friends just started spitting.
Yeah.
All the mom fish were like, that is bad manners. Stop doing that.
I was going to say, I feel like this is like a kindergarten class right now. Like, it takes one little kid to spit, and then they all start spitting.
I also, now they need to be, they're not archerfish, they're blowpipe fish.
Blowpipe fish. Let's rename it. Yeah, because they're not archers. They're not like little bow and arrows. Boing! Yeah. I mean, I guess the water jet is, but still.
Kind of, but I think blowpipe is a better image.
Oh, yeah. Way better image. So anyway, so they're still studying it, just because they are kind of like, okay, now that we know what it is, let's dive a little bit deeper into really what this thing is.
Well, yeah, can you imagine? I mean, I bet it'd be a really cool fish to study, because not only do they have this insane mouth that allows them to do this, but like, okay, imagine the refraction of water.
Right?
Okay? You're seeing prey that is not in the position.
Correct.
Because if any of you out there have ever tried to, like, not that I've ever spearfished, I have in a video game, and you had to pretend.
Figure it out.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, like, even at work, you know, like, trying to feed the turtles.
Yeah.
I'm trying to feed with tongs. And they're also trying to figure out, like, if I don't have the tongs in the water, their accuracy is terrible. Because they're seeing it. So, these little fish have, like, computed, like, where the target is, and then...
So they're really good at math, too. Not only do they have an awesome blowpipe, but they're also really good at math.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah. I'm imagining them, like, with tiny little, like, Rambo headbands, like, blowpipe, but that they're, like, geniuses. Breaking all the stereotypes.
Oh, goodness. Sweet.
I want one.
Archerfish.
I want to see one. I've never seen one in real life, just in videos.
I feel like I've seen one at a zoo before. I know I've seen one at a zoo before. So, when Carl and I, my ex-husband and I, were first dating... Okay, secret talent of mine. I am shockingly good with a blowgun. And
I thought you were going to say spitting, and I wasn't going to be surprised at all.
No, but
I'm also not surprised with
with a blowgun. So, I had a blowgun just growing up. Why? I don't know. I got a gift card for Cabela's one year for Christmas. I went there and I was like, this seems like a great purchase. So I bought one.
Fixation, got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Blowgun, onwards. And so, and it came with like the needles. I'm like, why did my parents let me get this? So it came with like the needle ones, like the rounded edge ones.
I've seen them in a magazine that I bought. It's called, my brother used to get this magazine called Cheaper Than Dirt.
Yes.
Get, like,
anything. Yes. So I got a blowgun practice because again, hyperfixation, ADHD. Man, did I get good. And so
could you get flies?
So when Carl and I first started dating, I told him, I was like, it was hanging in the basement. And I was like, hey, I'm actually really... He's like, what the heck is this? I was like, oh, it's my blowgun. Because...
Actually, a great, like, dating thing.
But it's like...
What is that? My blowgun. Oh!
Yeah.
Dangerous. Knows how to use a blowgun.
Score!
Yeah.
So... He's like, oh, whatever. Like, thinking it's a toy. I'm like, no, I'm actually really good with it. So I grab it. I'm like, let's go. Go outside. And we had those wood burrowing bees that would, like, because we lived in a log house. They would always attack our house all the time. I
remember saying your dad had the wiffle ball.
Yeah, would whack them with a wiffle ball bat and then, like, kill them that way. Because they would attack the house constantly and drill those stupid holes. So anyway, so we go outside. I have a blowgun, and I put in one of the needle ends in it. and I'm following like this bee. And listen, like I was good, but sometimes with these things, like I have a lot of random talents. ADHD, thank you. Like I can play a didgeridoo, like I like just bizarre things that most normal human beings are like, what the heck? Thank you, ADHD.
Yeah.
So grab the blowgun, throw the needle in there, watching this wood burrowing bee, and right through the bee.
Carl, what were you thinking? You should never have married her.
That should have been the red flag.
Crazy.
So immediately I try to like play it off as like, oh, told you I was good. And he's like, what the hell? Like, holy crap. And so I was like, yeah, told you I'm really good. And meanwhile, inside I'm like, I just shot a bee. Like, was so happy.
We're going to talk about cryptozoology, everybody. And for anybody who doesn't know, cryptozoology, or cryptids, which is how we're going to refer to our subjects here. A cryptid is an animal that has been claimed to exist, but has never been proven to exist. Okay? So,
like hard evidence proven. That's just...
Right. And it's still... people still believe in it. So that's kind of like the difference between them and like mythological creatures. Like most people accept the fact that like unicorns don't exist.
I mean, most people do.
Right. No, exactly. Like there is not much, like there's not much
debate.
However, tons of people still claim to still see like the Yeti, you know, and things like that. So that's what's considered a cryptid. Almost like a local legend, essentially. So we each chose two.
Yep.
Mine was random and the other one was personal. So I'll start with my random that I actually learned a lot about. And that is El Chupacabra.
I'm excited for this one because I'm excited to learn because I don't know a whole lot about.
I know, I didn't really either. I knew some, but not a ton.
Some.
So, I kind of broke it down of what it is, where it comes from, and then the basis and like what goes, why is it like that? So,
why are you the way that you are?
Yeah. Why? But why he gonna die?
Yeah. Which I know we've told that story on this podcast with the little kid with the bird. But why he gonna die?
So, most of you have probably heard of El Chupacabra, or maybe there's not even just one, but there's probably people believe that it's a whole like species, the Chupacabra.
Okay.
So what is it? It is a Latin American monster. The name chupar means to suck, and cabra means goat, so aka goat sucker. Not a threatening name.
No.
Like,
here comes the goat sucker.
There goes the goat sucker. Like, poor goats.
Yeah. Oh no.
But what we think about and what makes it a little scarier is it is a vampiric creature that drains the blood of animals. And you're like, okay, that's a little more extreme than a goat sucker. Like goat exsanguinator would be a better term. Way scarier. So it has been blamed for attacks on livestock and pets that supposedly left the bodies uneaten and completely drained of blood.
Yeah. I mean, which to be fair, I mean, the blood part is the part that most people can't stand. So, I mean,
yeah.
Continue.
So originally, this was reported to look a lot, which this is not what, I've never heard it look like. It originally was reported to look like a reptilian kangaroo with huge red eyes.
Wait.
Terrifying.
A reptilian kangaroo?
A reptilian kangaroo with big red eyes. That's scary.
I'm having a hard time picturing this.
Yeah,
okay, continue. That's creepy.
Other characteristics that people described for this version have been that it is bipedal, meaning two-legged, like a kangaroo. Very long limbs, spines down its back, smells bad, sometimes has a tail, sometimes doesn't, long claws, fangs, long snout like a kangaroo. And so that was like the OG Chupacabra.
And see, you know what I picture it as? Is those animals from Avatar. Like the ones that are like... Crawling around on all fours? Okay.
So then, as the years went on and sightings continued, the Chupacabra then became basically a hairless canine.
Okay.
Essentially. Like some kind
of... A mangy
died.
dog.
Yes, a horribly, almost like a hellhound kind of looking thing.
Okay.
So the whole thing started for the first time, actually, I had no idea it was this new, but El Chupacabra wasn't a thing before 1995.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I figured like at least the 70s or 80s, but 95? Yes. I am older than a Chupacabra.
Right. It was in Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
But as of today, it is also seen through the Americas, up into the United States, and actually, even Australians have reported Chupacabras.
Interesting.
So where did this whole thing come from? Let me spin you a story. So some people believe that this could be a U.S. government experiment gone wrong, and that it got loose. That's actually because...
Who let the mangy dog out, pretty much.
Right. Well, who let the mangy dogs out? Oh, we did. But apparently there was, like, tensions at the time, like, with, Puerto Rico is one of our territories, but apparently, like, they weren't taking kindly to some of the things that we were doing at that time. Okay. And so they were like, they're probably experimenting in the jungle, and maybe one of their experiments got loose. Others claim that it's an extraterrestrial or part of a biological warfare, or perhaps even the embodiment of God's wrath. What?
And meanwhile, it's just probably some, like, mangy dog trying to get a meal. And it's just, you are the embodiment of God's wrath. It's like, jeez.
That's a lot of pressure on one thing's shoulders.
Yeah, right?
Poor little Chupacabra. This reptilian kangaroo just comes and hops up and knocks on your door, and you're like, holy crap, you're the embodiment of God's wrath. It's like, I just need a drink. But, so no specimens have ever been found that resemble the reptilian kangaroo. And people stopped reporting them after a very short amount of years. Then it became the canine thing, and that's when people started being like, I found one, here it is, and started sending in Chupacabra bodies. So, I mean, people were sure this was a big thing in Texas.
No, I know, yeah.
Ask around, I'm sure.
People have Chupacabra stories here.
Oh, I guarantee it. And so this one, I mean, of a lot of the cryptids and stuff, I feel like the Chupacabra I could totally debunk because of the whole they're canines with mange.
Canines with mange.
So mange is a skin disease that's caused by mites that results in hair loss. And we're talking hair loss all over the body, but in particular the face, which makes them look real creepy, and huge eyes. Bad cases result in scabbing, thickened skin, and an overall crusty look.
Ugh.
And typically that is caused by infection, which also gives them a bad odor.
Mm-hmm.
So this, again, think about like the description, scaly, reptilian scaly, no hair, canine looking, bad smell. All of this is ringing bells.
Minus the kangaroo.
Right, a bipedal. That part doesn't make sense, but
maybe it's like
also had injured paws. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
now he's coming up for help. Help! Like with his poor paws that hurt.
So animals and so people, okay, that explains the appearance. But what about all the animals drained of blood? Well, animals may become very thin and lethargic, wouldn't you, if you were covered in scabs and and they get really hungry, and that's because they can't actually they can't consume enough calories to provide both their nutrition and to fight the disease of the mites. So this may have caused Chupacabra attacks, and that makes a lot of sense that it was livestock. Because if you are starving to death, you're going to go for easy prey, not wild animals. So whether or not you are a coyote, a fox, a dog, any of that canine family, they were attacking livestock probably because they were starving to death.
Yeah, and just hungry. just hungry.
And the prey, I mean, these animals were examined, or the ones that have been
sent
drained.
Oh, the ones that are
the drained ones, and they're not actually drained. So, no, they're not draining all the body. But it is not uncommon for canines to attack, kill things, and leave without eating them. That's like a dog thing.
Yeah, it is a dog thing, yeah.
You'd think if they were starving to death, they would eat it, but I mean, who knows what kind of mental state they're in either.
Yeah, true.
So any animal with mange could be thought to be a chupacabra. We're talking foxes, coyotes, raccoons, bears, squirrels, and even wombats. And that's what they're reporting in Australia is mange wombats.
Oh.
Yeah, scary.
Poor wombats.
And let me tell you, listeners, a bear with mange
is
the
terrifying.
most disturbing things you will ever see. Absolutely looks like a monster.
It's
like
terrifying.
If I was walking through the woods and saw a mangy bear and didn't know
shit my pants.
Like, yeah, I'd been like, it's a chupacabra for sure.
Yeah.
Or it's a person in a bear suit. Like, either one.
No, it is. Yeah.
And it's become
Google it now. Google it now if you haven't.
And it's become
terrifying.
a really big thing in Pennsylvania and Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Mangy bears. Yeah.
Mangy bears.
And then one last, nail in the coffin against the existence of Chupacabra. Not that I don't want there to be cryptids, okay? I want this to exist. But the same year that this first was reported, 1995, was the same year that a movie called Species was released. And it was a movie with an alien hybrid that looks exactly like the original Chupacabra description.
Buzzkill.
It was partially filmed in Puerto Rico. And it turns out that there was only one original eyewitness, of the first time it was ever seen, and then all the other descriptions matched that first description. And the woman who saw the first ever Chupacabra said that,
the kangaroo one? Okay.
Said that the alien hybrid in the movie looked like a Chupacabra. So she'd obviously recently seen the movie.
Yes.
She was like, wow, they really got the Chupacabra look down. But
that's accurate.
Right. Or was it the other way around?
Yeah. This poor mangy dog. Aw.
Yeah. Sorry guys, El Chupacabra, almost certainly a canine with mange. But good news is, Chupacabras exist. That's what they are. And you too can see a Chupacabra if you're ever unlucky enough to see an animal with mange. We have a lot of mangy foxes where I work, and they're pretty rough looking. It's nasty.
It is.
But yeah, you don't have to worry about your pets being exsanguinated. But you always have to worry about your pets being eaten by coyotes. So keep your pets indoors at night, people. Don't let your cats out. Don't let your dogs out.
Hide your dogs, hide your cats.
Hide your pets.
Alrighty. So the first cryptid that I'm going to talk about is one that I definitely grew up hearing about from being in Western Pennsylvania, and that is Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Both of mine I am very excited to talk about because I have literally been hearing stories of both of them since I was an itty-bitty kid. So, let's first get some terms straight. Yeti, abominable snowman are interchangeable. Those two are the same. But they are a completely different species than Bigfoot and Sasquatch, which those two are interchangeable.
Yeah, right. Nick.
Is that Kim's? Yeah, Kim's husband out. Yeah. We'll call him out. So anyway, there are a lot more names though than just these ones that are a little bit interchangeable, and there are actually
what was the
50?
Swamp ape? Wasn't what didn't what,
in Arkansas or which one?
Rachel Pitzer. I'm pretty sure skunk ape. That's what it was.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's tons. Even in the U.S. that there's tons. So there's more than 50 different names. But all of the different names, and that's all over the world. But they all say appearances of a large, hairy, human, ape-like something or other that terrorizes those just everywhere. There's even a Bigfoot map online which shows you all the different names for the various haired creatures.
That's cool.
Yeah, for simplicity's sake, all I'm going to focus on is one Bigfoot because that's what I grew up hearing about. So, Bigfoot has been reported to be seen across the U.S., most notably in the Pacific Northwest. However, I'm going to focus on some instances and sightings in Western Pennsylvania because...
The Appalachian subspecies.
Listen, that's where I'm from, and I like the lesser-known stories of these, because, everybody kind of, if you have any interest in any of this, you've heard about, the crossing over the river and how they, debunk that, picture and all that stuff. So, Bigfoot. let's go into a little bit more description here. It's typically between 6 to 9 feet tall. Some have reported them being than 12 feet tall, but most consistently they say around like 8 or 9 feet. At least like a head shorter than like a tall human. The ones that are like, 12 feet, a lot of those have been like debunked because they're like, listen, just too tall. All right, they're either black, brown, or reddish brown, long hair covering their entire body. Kind of like an orangutan, Bigfoot, like if it wasn't covered with short hair, but like it has longer hair, like an orang would.
Yeah.
Footprints, which are often seen, measure about 2 feet in length, and from the depth of the footprints seen as mud, as well as a general description of Bigfoots, like the width of their shoulders and everything, they are estimated to be about 800 pounds. So,
holy crap!
Yeah, pretty
I mean, because
big.
like a tall guy is like not necessarily that. Wow,
couple hundred pounds, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you figure 9 feet tall, and they were like broad-shouldered, thicker.
Muscular.
So what is creepiest about these creatures is that although it's ape and human looking mix, it definitely, everybody says it walks more human-like than anything. So it looks more like an ape, but it walks more like a human. They're said to have broad shoulders, long arms, like awkwardly long arms, and no necks. And out of the... just... broad shoulders, long arms, no necks. And that description,
all that length went to their
arms. Yeah, forget no neck. Forget the neck. Many have also said that when spotted at night, they have an eye shine, which we.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
Yeah, which we all know.
That would freak me out.
Yeah, well, we know that animals, like nocturnal animals, their eyes give off that shine because they have that reflective layer of tissue behind their pupils called the tatum lucidum. And this layer essentially acts as a mirror, which helps them to see very, very well at night.
So if they do have that, then they're clearly a nocturnal animal.
Yeah, they would lean...
at the very least.
Yeah, they would lean more towards, like you said, like an animal. Because we know humans don't have this, which would be cool if humans had it, because that means we could see at night better.
That also means we probably wouldn't be out in the day as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I would definitely never have sex with lights off ever again.
If you had the eye shine?
Yeah, that would be creepy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It took you like a minute. I was like, that would be terrifying.
Well, I was just like, yeah.
Eye shine?
Yes, they would be really creepy.
Listen.
Unless you were in like a cave dark. Like, where there's no light.
No light. What's
an eye shine?
Yeah. Or the number of times, like, my son has, because, I mean, parents know kids just appear, like, in the hallways, in your door frame. Like, also add glowing eyes. Terrifying. Anyway, others often associate Bigfoot sightings with a horrible smell, which people have described in a variety of ways, from a skunk that has rolled in garbage, rotting eggs mixed in vomit, and the list continues to go on.
Dang, throwing some shade at those poor Bigfoots. You know, I bet that's how a lot of people would describe, like, you know, people before deodorant, too. Jeez.
Yeah. Also associated with Bigfoots are numerous vocalizations, which range from screams, whistles, grunts, and moans to other ways of communicating, such as beating on a tree, bending objects, etc. So, now, though some of the most notable Bigfoot cases, like I said, happened since the mid-1950s to now, there are petroglyphs done by Native Americans that date back to between 500 to 1,000 years ago that depict, like, this kind of...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this kind of looking creature.
That's so cool.
Groups of people all across the U.S. have depicted pictures of extraordinarily larger and beefier people than humans. In the late 1950s in Northern California, a large human-like footprint was found and cast with plaster that, you know, they molded it from, pulled it out, and it was about 2 feet long, and this is where the present name of Bigfoot started. So before that, they always just called it something, or I guess were just silently creeped out by whatever the unknown was, and it wasn't until the 50s that we started to coin the name Bigfoot. Alright, so that's a little history for you, and let's dive into some stories, because that's honestly the best part of all of this stuff. So, Western Pennsylvania is a hotbed of sightings for Bigfoot. There are still very rural areas in the area, and plenty of food food for Bigfoot.
Plenty of food.
Plenty of food for Bigfoot. Plenty of food for Bigfoot. All right, there are more than 1,000 credible, quote-unquote, reports.
Holy cannoli.
Yeah, within PA, and a third of the 1,000 all of Pennsylvania, are actually from my home county of Westmoreland County. And many of them are even from Derry Township, where I grew up and went to school.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna live somewhere, be in the thick of the woods.
Yeah, or they say, like, this area is very squatchy.
All the caves.
Mm-hmm.
The caves, ooh, and that could explain the eye shine.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Or cave creatures.
Cave creatures. There are actually tons of caves where I grew up. All right, so I'm going to go, just rapid fire a group of reports that came in around 2002. So I was in high school, late high school at this point. All right, this occurred in an area called Chestnut Ridge, which is on the ridge of the mountains. Yep. I know where it is, but it's just an area on the mountainside. All right, the first in this string of sightings, and it was just and that seems to be what these Bigfoot sightings happen, and that's kind of where a lot of the researchers lend their credibility to, is that even before, now first of all, let me just say, I come from a fairly small town, all right? People talk. However, a lot of these stories will happen where one person hasn't heard another one, but it'll be in a string of sightings, and then all of a sudden nothing for a while, and then another string of sightings, and then nothing for a while. So they seem to happen in rapid fire, which is what, according to the Bigfoot researchers, are well, they could be coming out for food, or they have to get near people enough to, have whatever, and that's where they're sighted. So. And the first string of sightings was actually 2 sightings back-to-back in a remote part of Derry Township, the first by a teenage boy, and the second was by his mother. So in the first instance, the boy heard crashing sounds in the woods, then saw a big brown creature about 8 feet tall. A couple weeks later, then, the boy's mother was driving and talking on her cell phone, which, for the record, don't drive distracted, when the creature reappeared. The woman claimed that the creature stepped, not jumped, but stepped, over a barbed wire fence that was about 3.5 feet tall off the ground without even breaking stride. And that's not the first time that, people have said that they've just, walked over a fence like that.
I would straight up crash my car.
No, I would too. I'd be done. Be done with it.
The scariest thing. I think it's because it's so human-like.
Yes.
I would be so disturbed on such a level. Do I want there to be awesome things we haven't discovered yet? Absolutely.
Absolutely. But let's
right.
tone it down, nature. Tone it down.
Yeah. I want it to, be something. I either want it to be a super scary, non-human monster, or, a really cuddly, beautiful, wonderful something. but not
Bigfoot.
In any shape, form, human.
Yeah, not Bigfoot. Yeah. So... Derry Township has now been coined the hairy heart of Bigfoot, as this article that I was reading in BFRO's website. All right, so BFRO, the Bigfoot Research Organization, for what it's worth, that's what it's called. But the hairy heart of Bigfoot sightings in 2002 and continued fairly regularly into 2003. Another incident then dated that following, so that was in April, I think it was. And so then August, a woman was in a heavily wooded area, walked out into her garden to pick lettuce for lunch. It sounds typical for my area. Instead of innocently picking her lettuce, she was completely shocked to see what she described as a huge man-like creature with dark hair and long arms, leaning against a tree only about 8 feet away and looking curiously at her.
No, it's so scary.
And that's broad daylight because she's out picking lettuce for lunch.
Perfectly picture it. How just
creepy.
Creeping on her. He's just creeping on her, leaning on a tree and just watching. No.
What you doing?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Is that some lettuce you're getting there? Just watching her.
Jeez.
Maybe he's asking. Maybe it's like the mangy dog. He too is just hungry.
All right, I'll try and think of it more positively.
Just, excuse me, man. Meanwhile, like maybe it's like his voice is like at such a decibel that humans can't hear. And this whole time he's just like, "Excuse me, ma'am, can I have?" And meanwhile, all she sees is this thing staring at her. So she goes running off. He's like, "Can I just have some lettuce, please, please?" Anyway, so it was just leaning against a tree. The creature's head, according to the witness, was scraping a branch that was later measured to be about 8 feet off the ground. So when the local BFRO experts searched the area, they found some older footprints to be about 15 inches long that they found in the area. Another Bigfoot's visit happened only a few miles away, maybe 3 months later, when 3 witnesses observed a tall, beige-colored creature with long arms swinging and walking through a cornfield, which the BFRO does note that has never been a Bigfoot described as beige before. But I mean, it could be beige. But it could be leucistic. You know what I mean? Like a touch of...
Yeah, it's their poor blonde cousin.
Forget the black sheep of the family. It's the blonde. A blonde Bigfoot.
What if it was just... Maybe it was old.
Yeah, true. So take it for what it's worth. But shortly after this sighting, the same BFRO member received a call from a man who said he was on a dirt bike with his son on a rural area, pretty much in the same area, which was like the Westmoreland-Fayette County border. And he said a hairy man-like creature with arms hanging down to around his knees jumped out of the woods, stared at them about 75 feet away, and then just ran back out of sight. Just like jumped out, then just took off running.
I'd never be able to report my sighting because I would have had a heart attack.
Right?
I would be dead. If I ever see Bigfoot, I'll just die.
In the same year, so 2003, several people called the BFRO reporting strange sounds. A whoosh, which was reported. Could you imagine calling somebody? I heard a whoosh. What sound did you hear? A whoosh. But these are reported in both Westmoreland, just north of Westmoreland County and nearby Indiana counties, but it was like a little bit more than a whoosh. Several people, unknown to each other, called and said that they heard something that sounded like something big climbing like up into the sky, like a large gust of wind. Like it was down and then just like whoop, and like just jumped up. Now, again, whether or not they're...
This is where people are losing me.
Because... Never in any other accounts have they talked about like Bigfoot's climbing trees.
Fly.
Yeah. Or can jump that high. Yes, they can walk over fences, whatever, but never have they
I can even see climbing a tree, but like, come on, like
that quick. Like I mean, they're tall. Yeah. They're tall, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, one man also claimed that he had the sensation of something big climbing overhead, moving fast. All he knew was that the sound was so intense that he ducked his head, but he didn't see anything. But to kind of give a little teaser to my next one, Bigfoot sightings aren't the only thing seen in this area. In June of this year, several boys playing in a field in an afternoon said they observed a heart-shaped greenish object falling straight down from the sky. As they watched, a probe came down from the base of the object. The object hovered at treetop level, then climbed straight up and was lost from sight. So that all happened like around the same time. So whether or not you believe in Bigfoot, I grew up in this area and know of several people who have claimed pretty much something fitting of this description. And the people that I know that say that they've seen it aren't the type of people to exaggerate, but are also the type of people who like are realistic enough.
Are ready to believe in,
Well, they're realistic enough to be like, I don't know what it was, but this is what I saw. Whatever it was, no clue. So are there big black bears in this area? Absolutely. And black bears do range in color too. They aren't always black.
Right.
Against their name. So they can come
in
a variety of colors. So bears typically stay in the mountains by where I grew up, but will roam closer to people if they are hungry enough, and they will stand up to appear larger, which could have been lady...
And walk on their hind feet.
And they will walk on their hind feet.
They can be bipedal,
Yeah. Which could have been the lady picking the lettuce. Like,
Yeah, cash.
Just like a bear
Creeper bear.
Hello.
Well, if you guys want to see a really good example of a bipedal bear, there was that bear. It's not alive anymore because they shot it, but its name was Petals. It was in New Jersey.
Yeah.
It had its front paws injured, and it just walked all around the neighborhood on its back feet.
But that was pretty creepy.
8 feet tall. I mean,
no, they're not. They're not. Okay. So, and that's what I was going to say next is like the 8-foot mark is definitely taller than what a black bear tends to be standing. And so, I mean, who knows?
What is a black bear standing? 6?
Yeah, tops? 5 or 6, I think.
Okay. Because, on the shoulder, there can't be more than 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But standing, maybe 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do want to make a note that the leading BFRO reporter for the Westmoreland area, and he also studies my next topic, and that's where like most of these reports come from, everybody calls this guy, actually sold my parents their TV at Sears back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Everybody needs a day job, so...
Is there any other theories as to what people think it could be if it's not a bear? I mean, I can see people
running around in a ghillie suit. I mean, like,
well, okay, yeah,
like hunters.
I could see footprints being like old human footprints that have like
but barefoot
footprints.
I mean, listen, I grew up in the hills of Western Pennsylvania, but we're not West Virginia here, folks. No one's just
fine. Bear footprints, which look like human footprints.
They can, bear footprints, yeah. They're not that big. They're about half the size, at least half the size.
Like that it like spread out after a rain or something. So maybe that. And then the sounds, that could be coyotes, mountain lions, lots of things that make human noises.
Yeah. Anything.
The height thing. And the way that they describe it walking. Mm-hmm. Because if a bear is walking, it is definitely not a smooth human gait. It's still an animal that is not meant to be, like, it's not normally walking on 2 legs.
Correct. Yeah. But I mean, like, there are reports though. I mean, and that's just where I'm from, Westmoreland County, and like in Ligonier, the town, pretty close, not too far from where I grew up. I mean, that is like known, and Ligonier sits like back in the mountains and stuff, and so that is definitely a hotbed. But I mean, that entire ridgeline of Appalachian Mountains all the way to northern Pennsylvania, where the Allegheny National Forest is just filled with sightings. Growing up in the woods, your mental game plays minds on you so bad, and then you grow up hearing
your mental game plays minds on you.
Yes,
that's what you just said.
Your mind plays mind games. Gosh dang it. My mouth.
Somebody's mind has been playing mental games.
Sometimes my brain works too fast for my mouth. So anyway, I mean, you grow up hearing all these stories and stuff like that. And I mean, I tell you what, like the animals at night, whatever it is, I mean... Yeah. You're way out there.
A mountain lion scream would be just as scary.
A bobcat scream, yeah.
Right, a
bobcat scream, yeah. So, I mean, there's a number of things that it could be, but I don't know. I grew up with a lot of people, whether it's all just their mind playing tricks on them or whatnot, who knows, but...
Jury's still out for me. I'm not, like, Chupacabra, no.
Yeah.
Bigfoot? Maybe. Maybe.
I mean, there are stories of it all over the world, too, because, like, even in Indonesia, it was, something Pintek.
Okay.
And it looks similar to an orang, but different enough that people are like, no, it's definitely not an orang. In some place like that, I could totally see, you know what I mean, like, it hiding in the U.S., I don't know.
You're going to talk about your next guy, but you were just saying about the whole, like, seeing something green and a probe and blah, blah, blah. What if it's their pets? Like, what if the reason why people don't regularly see Bigfoot is because they let them go for, like, basically, like, to go on a walkabout.
They're like, they need to pee, so they let them out of the ship for a bit.
Yeah. It's their pets.
Hurry up. And then you're so, oh gosh.
Go.
Go. Hurry up.
Somebody saw it again.
Yeah.
Like,
dang it.
Yeah, like, that would
explain it.
That's why they're not around all the time.
And that's why these sightings are all clumped together.
Wookiee. Oh my gosh, if that's what they're Wookiees.
They're Wookiees.
They do look like,
Steven Spielberg called it.
Okay. Anyway. All right, here's my second one. This one is a little bit closer to home for me. So this is Chessie.
Chessie?
And Chessie is a sea monster of the Chesapeake Bay. So a bay monster, not a sea monster, but everyone says sea monster. Because bay monster sounds less impressive, but still better than a lake monster. So the first sighting of Chessie, not that it was called that at the time, but something was seen in the Chesapeake Bay in 1846 by Captain Lawson, who saw something that he just said was unusual in the mouth of the Chesapeake. Other sightings have been through the decades. A pilot in 1936 saw something strange. A respected marine biologist saw something in 1960.
Wait, a pilot saw something? Like
yeah,
they were flying over? Okay.
Yeah. A respected marine biologist, a fisherman in 1977 who got a photo, a retired CIA officer in 1978, a woman boating in 80, a whole bunch of people from 82 to 88. There were 78 reports from 82 to 88. A couple actually got footage in 1982. You can see the footage online. He was trained in wildlife management, so he wasn't like a nature novice.
Yeah.
And then the most recent sighting, so lots more, but most recent was 2014.
So very, very recent.
Yeah. And basically, in general, all of these sightings are fairly, they've got a lot of similarities. Usually the creature is described as approximately 40 feet long. Or the first time the marine biologist described it as 40 feet long, 5 inches wide, 7 to 8 inches deep. So I'm assuming he meant girth.
So what's the size of that compared to the Loch Ness Monster? Do you know?
Good question. I didn't look up how long
Nessie
is.
Here. I'll look it up. Go ahead, keep going.
Other people have described it as a 20-foot snake-like creature swimming with serpentine motion, or a 30 to 35-foot, 10-inch diameter, rounded head, humps along the back. But always it is described as snake-like and swimming side to side or up and down. So, it's a serpent is what they're saying.
Okay.
Is what it is.
Okay.
What is, what do they say? Did you find,
not like an accurate, because, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there's no...
Yeah. I feel like Nessie is described a lot as, like, you see her as, like, the plesiosaur, like, the
yes.
big body. This is not like this is
everybody's
long...
Okay, everybody's saying that this is a snake. A huge snake. Okay, gotcha.
Huge snake. So where? You guessed it, the Chesapeake Bay. So this body of water is where water from 6 states ends up, fed by 7 major rivers and numerous smaller ones, and opens up into the Atlantic Ocean. The Chesapeake Bay is 4,500 square miles of water. So way bigger than the Loch Ness. People claim Loch Ness. Loch Ness is way deeper.
Yeah. Okay? Oh yeah, for sure.
Way deeper than the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is much bigger.
Yeah.
The water is brackish, meaning it's partially salty due to the mixing of fresh and salt water. And Chessie is typically seen between July and October.
Interesting. It's seasonal.
At a specific time of year. Yeah. The video footage, you can look it up. It is verified. It's true. Like it's an untampered video footage.
So at least whatever they saw, it was something. Like
something.
It was something.
Yes. So that was in 1982. And they sent it to like a whole bunch of scientists met. They was sent to the Smithsonian. So the Smithsonian's met about it. Some other marine people. And they all watched it and they all said, it's something that's alive. And it's something, and it's like, they were like, it's not just a log floating.
Yeah, it's not a log floating.
It is alive, and it is something serpentine-like.
Interesting.
But we don't know what it is. And they never have found out what it is. Some people say, maybe it could be a large tropical snake that escaped from the Baltimore Harbor, like on a ship.
Listen, we have the Everglades. You know what I mean? They're just a cesspool.
Typically, they only survive in warm, fresh water.
Correct.
So it would be weird and probably wouldn't survive long in a brackish water, but weird.
For a bit. And
interestingly enough, most of the sightings in the 80s were right after a nuclear power plant was built in the area, which creates warm water all around the power plant, so it would have made that water much warmer.
Yeah, interesting.
the culture of the time, so cryptozoology became a super big topic in the 70s. That was like the explosion of cryptozoology. So people got into it. And so a lot of the sightings were kind of around that time. That was also the time where environmental awareness was being pushed. And so Chessie actually like was used as to like, we got to keep the bay clean for Chessie. For real.
Yeah.
And then also 1975 was the year that Jaws came out, and a lot of people got really afraid of the water for a bit. I mean, it makes sense. Finally, and this is what I think is most believable. Could it have been an oarfish? Never heard of such a thing. Looked it up.
Yeah.
So an oarfish, typically oarfish are found at 600 feet deep, and the bay is only 175 feet deep. But when oarfish are sick and injured, they are known to beach themselves, and they have beached themselves before. These are fish. These are the longest bony fish in the world. They're 36 feet long, so that would same length as this reported sea monster. They have a long, flat, tapering body, very snake-like.
I never thought about an oarfish, but as soon as you say that, I'm like, yes, definitely.
Yeah, if you look up a picture, you're like, okay,
it's definitely it. Yeah.
They lack anal and caudal fins, so they don't look like they look like an eel. They don't.
Yeah, not like a fish.
They look like an eel. And they're super rare, and very little is known about them because they're a deep sea fish. And actually, one was not even caught on film until 2001. That's the first time anyone even filmed an oarfish in real life. Yeah.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, because they're so rare to see. That people have been seeing them more and more beaching themselves, and they actually think that they might indicate earthquake stuff, like,
interesting.
But oarfish in general are, most people credit them as the basis for most sea monsters out in the ocean. Because, again, they swim very serpentine.
Yeah.
Really. So
whenever you're that long and noodly, I mean, like, how else would you swim, you know?
Yeah. Because it's either that or it's got to be the occasional, like, really long, freaky snake that's gotten into the bay.
Yeah.
But I mean, no native species of snake is more than, like, 8 feet long.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can watch the interview with the guy who got the video footage. There were 6 witnesses who saw this together. And it was an animal, and that was coming up and down. It was pretty long, and, like, the guy he's like, the interview, it's good. So definitely people have seen something. And honestly, the best part of this is that nobody knows.
Yeah.
I think. Because probably, then there is... and is it one thing? I doubt it. I bet it's multiple sightings
things,
of many different creatures.
Yeah.
Probably Chessie hasn't been around for that long. But, something's in the bay.
Something's in the bay. I mean, it's big enough. I mean, it's enough, like, a span of an area, but interesting. Yeah, because whenever you said you were going to cover that topic, I immediately went, because I've heard of it, but I'd never had looked up pictures or anything like that. And I was thinking like Loch Ness. Yeah.
Me too.
Because there's tons of reports of those, and the same kind of thing with Bigfoot. Like,
there are sea monsters
all over
the world. And in basically every major lake, too.
Yeah.
So they've got stories of one. But the bay at least has access to the ocean, so I can see there being way more weird stuff that can enter
just
into
coming
the bay.
up and, dying. Just beaching itself.
I want to find one. I was watching these videos of kids that found an oarfish in California washed up, and there's, like, all these kids stretched out holding this oarfish. I was like, it's so cool!
Yeah, that is pretty neat. Well, I mean, not the fact that it's dead, but, you know.
Yeah.
An oarfish. That was a good one. Alrighty, so the next topic, if you haven't guessed it already, that I'm going to cover is not typically considered cryptozoology. Kind of is, but really not. But I'm going to talk...
like its own thing.
Yeah, it's not its own thing. By definition, it could be it. Could be it. But since it's my podcast and I'm going to talk about it.
This was the only way that I could sell Katy on doing this topic.
It really was.
But can I do
Bigfoot and aliens? Yeah. That was the only way. So, while there is, of course, skepticism around aliens, they aren't considered cryptids, again, like I said, because they aren't, quote-unquote, from the Earth, which is technically what a cryptid has to do.
Gotcha.
But, again, so, they visit here. You know what I mean? So, cryptid, we don't know what they are.
Maybe they used to be from the Earth. We don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, they were like, listen, there's these human things. We predict that they're going to screw this up. They're really dumb. We're going to leave. Yeah. Okay, bye. But for this one, I'm also going to focus on Western Pennsylvania because everyone's heard of Roswell or at least knows of it. So again, I want to focus on one main event that happened pretty close. Again, Westmoreland County, where I grew up. All right, so aliens. First off, I think I did this in the nature news before, but I still feel like everybody freaking overlooked it and just didn't hear about it. But during the pandemic, okay, so 2001, in the middle of a relief bill, Trump, for whatever reason, required that the U.S. government, mostly military CIA, release a report on what they know about UFOs. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad plan. Listen, you're either going to give relief to the Americans, and you're going to be a horrible person if you don't pass this. You know what I'm going to slide in there? If aliens exist. You know what I mean? Slide it in there. So
also, it was during the pandemic, and so everyone was just
during the pandemic.
Anything else?
Yep. So, what did the report conclude? That there are 100% UFOs that the military has recorded on camera that they know for a fact did not come from the U.S. military and in no way, shape, or form could be aircrafts from another country. Again.
Draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, draw your own conclusions, but what in the freaking heck? No one is still talking about it because, again, it happened in the middle of the pandemic, and I think everyone was just so stressed out. Everyone's like, yeah, UFOs are a thing. Or they just didn't even hear about it because they're just like, me, whatever.
Yeah.
Completely unfazed. We really need to circle back and touch on UFOs, folks.
Circle back to this, please.
Let's please circle back to this. Can we? Thank you. All right, so history of aliens a little bit. While, of course, highly debated, there have been pictures that...
History of aliens. Let me just go over a quick history of aliens.
The entire...
We didn't have enough time in this night.
Just a brief. But there have been pictures that seem to be showing aliens, again, of petroglyphs, dating back thousands of years. Here in the U.S., of course, the most infamous story that I mentioned earlier was Roswell incident, which happened in 1947. Since then, thousands of UFO sightings were reported yearly across the world. And even though I'm talking about UFOs that are like a ship, come on, something has to be piloting it, so aliens, cryptids, come on, folks. Right. Alrighty. Some of these sightings, like the Bigfoot sightings, are not very credible.
Right.
Aliens.
For sure.
While others, crap, now that the U.S. government is admitting that UFOs are a freaking thing... If you believe you saw a UFO, you may have.
Probably did.
You probably did. And that's the scariest shit about all of this is you think you saw something? Okay, you think you saw Bigfoot? We still kind of, don't believe you. You think you saw a UFO? You know what, folks? You probably did. That's what's terrifying. All right, so this story that I want to cover, again, happened in Westmoreland County. It was December 9th, 1965, around 5 p.m. A fireball was streaks across the sky above northeastern North America, and there are sightings as far as Indiana, New York, Virginia, Ontario, all which are reported in newspapers as somebody seeing something going through the sky. The falling object even started many fires throughout Ohio into Pennsylvania as the flaming debris falls from it. And there was even a story in the Associated Press that reported on this as well, that all these little mini fires and whatnot were started from this. So while everyone agrees on everything that I just said, that there was something flying through the sky, a ton of people saw it, that is about the only thing that everyone agrees on. Everything moving forward, people don't agree on. So, this happened in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, and witnesses in Kecksburg claimed that the object crashed into the woods by the nearby town. Today, many people believe this was, in fact, an optical illusion of some sort. No clue what they thought this optical illusion could have been. But
their thing wasn't like it was a meteor. Like nobody was like, this is a meteor.
No, some people said it was that, but a lot of people were like, no, it's just some like optical illusion of some sort.
That would have been their first thing. Mine would have been like, oh, something must have.
Oh, it's meteor.
Definitely.
Well, a lot of people say that, but
yeah.
But they said that it was an optical illusion because there's no way that it could have landed in this spot given the trajectory of where it was seen and everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah. However, at the time, the U.S. Army took any of the sightings in mid-60s. So they took any of the sightings very seriously, and they did not hesitate to investigate this incident. The area was roped off, and citizens who came out into the woods to investigate the falling object were turned back by armed men. The Army reported that after an investigation of the woods around Kecksburg, nothing was found. Which I feel like was always the story around UFO sightings back then. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Just move along. And then, like the Men in Black, they zap, zap you with their little stick thing and erase your memories. All right, so let's get into some firsthand accounts here. One gentleman, Bill Bullbush, claims he saw the object, right? Bill Bullbush claims that he saw the object turn around in the sky just like it was controlled before crashing into the woods. Apparently insane, this man was interested in what he just saw, and he drove out to investigate and found an acorn-shaped object about the size of a small Volkswagen smoldering in the woods. It was glowing, cracked, and sparked, scaring Bullbush, who says he did not get too close to the object, and when he heard people coming, that's when he ran home.
Yeah. I don't even know if I would have investigated in the first place.
Heck no. Oh, goodness. Okay, so there's more here. James Romsky was another individual who saw this object. According to his account, he was part of a group of volunteer firefighters who responded to what they thought was going to be a plane crash. So they were all reported to small plane crash, all right? Instead, he said he found a metal acorn-shaped object buried in the ground and covered in hieroglyphics.
What?
And that, folks, is where I would have crapped my pants and been like, I'm a volunteer. Thank you. I am done. Just turn around and go home.
I'm not sure what I've been more afraid. Well, I would have. Okay. First fear, the thing itself and what's going to come out. Second fear, like the insane things that this could be like contagions or like alien or whatever on it. Third fear, the government is going to kill me because I've seen this now.
I've seen this.
Like,
hold on to that thought. So, let's see here. And this too. So you were saying about how you're afraid. And this for me, it's not like I would be afraid, but it's my same feelings that I have towards ghosts and people like summoning spirits and things. Whether you believe it or not, there are just some things you shouldn't mess with. And an alien spacecraft for me is probably one of them. just don't mess with it. Like people who go out ghost hunting and they're like, let's summon these ghosts. Nope, just
See,
don't.
I'm all about, I want to go ghost hunting, but I would never try and summon something. That's crazy. Like, go to someplace that haunted? Yes. Try and like call something?
Summon them?
No.
Purposely bring them out? No. People, just stop. Yeah. But this is the same thing. For me, this isn't the same thing. Like, I would walk up to it, see it, and be like, out. Yeah. I'm done. Thank you, guys. So the same gentleman, Romsky, claims that he was then ordered, the volunteer firefighter, he was then ordered to leave by men in trench coats. And this is where we start to get to real X-Filey here.
Yeah.
He later saw the military carrying the object away on a flatbed truck. Several additional witnesses saw this flatbed truck leaving, too. And it was then, by that point, it was all like covered in a big tarp. Another man came forward, Michael Rambosher, who was a security officer for the Air Force, claimed to have guarded the object, which arrived on a flatbed truck, and he believed that was not from this world. So wherever this truck ended up, that's where this guy was, and he's like, yep, I guarded this thing. Which, I mean, like an acorn with hieroglyphics on it, like, yeah, out of this world box is definitely checked. One of the most interesting stories that I would say that came from this was from an incident by the local news director of a radio station in Kecksburg, John Murphy. Murphy headed out to the site very shortly after the crash happened, before the military got there. He took photos of the objects, interviewed many of the witnesses on a tape recorder.
Is he alive still?
Pause.
Stop.
Murphy was, of course, very excited about what he collected and went back to his radio station to put everything together for a special program that night or the next day on the show. Shortly before the broadcast was to go on the radio, the station was visited by a couple of men who were dressed in all black. Again, X-Filey. Trench coats, men in black, always a bad sign. So a co-worker who verified this story also said that the men confiscated Murphy's photos, tape recordings, and anything else that Murphy needed to put together the program on the incident. Of course, Murphy never aired anything, but he was said to be very mad and very vocal about, the whole situation, that he was pretty ticked off that, people have a right...
Suck. You'd be...
Right? Because he could have had the breaking story.
And two,
right?
For your whole life, then everyone will think you're just nuts.
Well, he didn't... Funny you should say his whole life, because not too long after the incident, Murphy, while visiting California, was hit randomly by a driver who just sped off. And Murphy was just walking, hit him, took off. Whether the hit and run was just... crazy coincident or not, a lot of people speculate because he was so vocal that this was planned.
Yikes.
So, the incident, although surrounded in controversy, is celebrated annually in the town, but many investigators do still comb the area looking for proof of history's past. As we all know from our previous episodes, trees can take time to grow, and they take a long time to self-heal. Yeah. So, many have claimed that if you go there, there are broken branches, and if you take a drone and look at footage shooting down, you can actually see, a clear path of newer brush than the surroundings in the same direction, in the exact same area that eyewitnesses say the report happened.
Well, you'd also think they'd be able to do soil samples, because unless
they have, and the soil samples have said, nothing of significance. Okay. Nothing big. But the story doesn't end here. Fast forward to 2002. A New York-based investigative journalist, Leslie Keene, leads a charge against NASA, of all people, by filing a lawsuit working with the Coalition for Freedom of Information. Keene, spearheading a Freedom of Information Act, a FOIA initiative sponsored by the Sci-Fi Channel, no less, was an effort to acquire government documents from the Kecksburg case. The following year, she ended up a plaintiff in a federal FOIA lawsuit against NASA in Washington, D.C., which, as an investigative journalist, listen, whatever job she had after that, going above and beyond, she did it. Because she literally took NASA to court. So, after previously promising, through all these court cases, NASA ended up saying that they were going to go ahead and expedite the search for fouls related to the 1965 Kecksburg UFO crash. NASA completely stonewalled and later said, well, we have no idea where the fouls are.
I was going to say, what could that... I mean, you could just be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they basically just said that they couldn't find it. And that was their official statement, was pretty much oopsies. So, still to this day, we still don't know. Those files weren't released in any of, the 2001, the groupings of all those. And you can go on and find all those reports online, which doesn't really say anything. If you read through them, all the reports basically say, yep, there's UFOs, it's not us, and there's absolutely no way it could be anybody else. So...
But they didn't want to say alien. Yeah.
They didn't want to say aliens. But the Kecksburg one was not in there. In Roswell, a lot of people, know that they, have said that one's pretty much debunked nowadays. But the Kecksburg one, it's still out. I mean, an acorn covered in hieroglyphics. I don't know.
Specific.
But it is, but yeah, it's oddly specific for, I don't know. Yeah, you know what I mean? For several different people to, it's very random. An acorn shape whenever most people see a flat disc. Yeah, a disc. So that was Kecksburg. Again, I didn't grow up too far from this one. And that's just one of many stories in the area. Same thing as Bigfoot though. I mean, people see stuff, they say they see stuff. I mean, both of my parents at one point or another have said that they've seen things in the area. Both of they've been way out in rural areas and they see something flying overhead, whether it's aircraft, whatever. But yeah, so that is UFOs and aliens that would have to be flying them. Aliens, man.
Yeah.
So I do want to put a disclaimer. The reason, though, why I wanted to do these two is because, like, there is a lot of nostalgia here for these two with me. And my dad, who I've talked about before on the show, you know, he passed away like 7.5 years ago. We grew up, like, watching X-Files together. Like, that was, like, our show. I probably started watching X-Files, like, when it first came out. And I was way too young to be watching them. But it, like, it definitely sparked my interest. I mean, I was already a kid that asked a lot of questions. Right. And then, like, to have a show that, like, fueled that, like, it's okay to ask questions, I was like, heck yeah. And the same thing with Bigfoot. Like, my dad and I would watch, like, all the Bigfoot hunting shows and stuff. And that one, like, we would laugh about it because you know those shows, if you've ever watched them. They're so dramatic. And you know they're not going to find anything because... like, news is going to get out. Yeah. They're going to squeal, you know, ahead of time. But my dad, right? But again, like, we grew up in the area, and so it was always, like, a spoof, a laugh between us. Like, he used to go out on, and again, we grew up in the woods, like, 7 acres, and we were pretty far from everything. And we would, like, watch, like, I'd be home from college or whatever, or just be visiting home, and we'd watch a show and laugh and then go out on the back porch. And he would, like, do, like, a really loud, like, the Bigfoot call. And I'm like, oh, my God. And then I'd start, like, laughing. So it really did become, like, a joke between us. And then we always, I mean, even up until his death, like, we still like watching X-Files together. And I think it was the Christmas, I have it around here somewhere, but the Christmas right before he died, I got him a Bigfoot shirt. Because, like, it was such a joke between the two of us. But man, like, we actually have pictures of him, like, whenever he was getting his cancer treatments and stuff like that. Like, he had that shirt on and stuff because he just, like, he thought it was just as funny. And if anybody knows me, like, humor is a Reiss masking and coping mechanism through and through. But it's also, like, our love language. Like, humor is definitely my family's love language. So, oh, goodness. Alrighty. So, yeah. So, I mean, Bigfoot and X-Files for me, it is a bit of nostalgia. I grew up around it and... I don't know. It was just always something between my dad and I, so I like talking about it. Well,
and for me, I think it's like, I want there to be something more in this world.
Something else, yeah. Something else.
Yeah, totally. I regularly, because I'm weird like that, like, you know how, like, you, like...
I'm weird like that?
You, like, prepare scenarios in your head. I think about, like, other weird scenarios, like, Laura, what would you sacrifice if you could make there be, like, real dragons in the world, or, like, magic? I would absolutely chop one of my arms off right now.
I mean, that was an agreement between my ex-husband and I whenever he joined the Air Force. I was like, I know you're gonna probably have to keep things secret. Don't care. If you find out for some strange reason that aliens exist, that's an agreement. You have to tell me. Like, I don't care. I don't care anything else that you do. Could care less. If you find out aliens exist, you need to tell me. Yeah. And here we are, 2021. That was why I got a divorce. No, I'm teasing.
That's where the government started.
Yeah. The government came out and said that there were aliens. I didn't need him anymore. It's fine. Get a divorce.
Well, or that Carl's kept it bottled up inside all of these years because he really didn't think he could tell you. And
yeah, right? I'll have to tell him. I'll be like, hey, you got a shout out multiple times in this episode. Poor guy. So anyway, cryptozoology. That was a fun one. It's a fun topic. I mean, cryptozoology is fun because there are so many stories on these ones too.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, we're gonna take a bit of a break.
At least 4 weeks. We need a vacation.
Yeah, just mentally and life-wise and stuff. So. Make sure you check us out on Patreon. I'm going to be posting. I posted some behind the scenes videos, and I'll put this one up too. And the videos are pretty much unedited, but I do overlay like pictures and things on them so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So go over to Patreon, you support us, and you'll be able to see some extra content over there. But until then, follow us on social media. We're most active on Twitter, I would say. Yeah, most active on Twitter by far. So head over there and chat with us. And until then, we will talk to you next season.
Talk to you next season, everybody. Have a good one.